What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Football Talk with Hawk. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for stopping by, whether on Spotify or on YouTube. Welcome in. All right, so for today, kind of went back and forth on um, what I wanted this episode to be like. We're sitting in the middle of the week. It's now Thursday. Do I do the preview of divisional round? Do I just do midweek news? Do I do another episode of something that I've been thinking about with kind of like the stadium rankings that I just did? Well, I'm not really sure. Even going into it, I've nailed it down to two. So we're kind of just going to roll into this. I want to start out with some of the coaching, um, some of the coaching rumor mill that's currently out there, and then we're kind of just going to go whichever way I feel after that. So let's get started. That's why this is so much fun to be able to do. So let's open up. Number one, Bill Belichick has a second interview with the Atlanta Falcons. Um, I love this. I said this, I believe it was yesterday. I've said this um, the day before. I thought it was going to be Washington, but Adam Peters, the GM, I don't think is going to go that direction. I could really see Washington making a big push for Harbaugh now. He's not going to get personnel control in Washington. He is going to get the ability to draft whichever quarterback he wants. Um, but he's got a lot of pieces out in Washington. Washington is already set up. Washington is ready to win. It's the NFC, um, close to family. It's a perfect location. The owner's got money. The owner's going to be patient, willing to just kind of work and get this thing on the road is really what it's going to be right now for Washington. So I do. I think Washington and Harbaugh have always made sense. I thought Belichick could go there, absolutely. But with Adam Peters, I don't think that's going to be the case because he wants to build through the draft and supplement with free agency. It's San Francisco 3.0 because we already have San Francisco and we already have the Rams. So hopefully, and this is good for football if this happens, hopefully we can throw in Washington and hopefully they get a better name besides the Commanders and a logo that's just a freaking W. Um, but back to Bill Belichick and Atlanta. Why does this work? The same thing I said yesterday. It works because it's youth. And even bigger, it is everything that Bill Belichick could not get right in New England. They have a star receiver. They have a star running back, a star tight end. Listen, I know Gronk was amazing, I know. He had his injury issues. So does Kyle Pitts. If Kyle Pitts has Tom Brady throwing it to him, and he did have Matt Ryan his first year, remember, he's good. He's really good. Drake London has not had that opportunity yet. I think he's going to pop off if they get Michael Penix. Whether they make a trade up for him or whatever they do, I think that's a legitimate opportunity for him. And you've got Bijan Robinson. And you have contract control. Pitts you're going to have to pay relatively soon. Drake London the year behind him. And then Bijan Robinson the year behind him. And then the year after that will be your quarterback. You're set up one year after another. You got A.J. Terrell on the defensive side of the ball. Zach Harrison would be perfect in the 34. You got leadership. You got Bud Dupree, which I believe would love to be able to play in a New England style defense. I think that fits him beautifully. Free agents would go down there, and he's going to develop. I mean, he's going to hire an outrageous staff. McDaniels is probably the offensive coordinator. He's probably going to get Matt Patricia from Philadelphia. And then he's going to probably go get Joe Judge for special teams. Like, there is an aspect of this that is just too perfect. Just too perfect. Now, Bill Belichick is the perfect fit there. I want to talk about another interview, though, that took place that all of us kind of knew potentially would happen. The Chargers have interviewed a lot of candidates at this point, or they've requested to interview a lot of candidates. They had an in-person interview with the head coach of Stanford University, David Shaw. Now, I said this when everything came out after Staley got fired. They need Harbaugh. They need Tomlin. They need Belichick. They need a big hire. But they have been cheap and cheap and cheap so often. It would 100% be like them to hire David Shaw. 100% would be like them to hire David Shaw. Because that's a move San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers make. That would be Chargering. Going and getting David Shaw. Now, do I think it's a bad move? I honestly don't know. I saw that and I went, he hasn't had necessarily the success as Harbaugh did, but he's been there longer. So, I like some of Stanford's pieces. He's not Jim Harbaugh, but maybe he's one of those coaches that can translate to the NFL. I like David Shaw. I absolutely like David Shaw. I have no problem with David Shaw whatsoever. I like him. And I think with all of the movement with the conference and where they're going to and the way the schedule's going to be and the amount of trips they're going to be taking east and everything else, I don't know if it appeals to David Shaw or not. And an NFL team calls you up, you're not going, no, thank you, I'm good, staying at Stanford instead of potentially making a move to the NFL. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. So I like the idea, but it's going to be a Charger move. They can't do this again. They need somebody who can come in and really push the Charger brand, the Charger team forward, especially in that AFC West. Because I'm sorry, I believe Antonio Pierce will be very competent as a head coach. And the Raiders are worried that potentially 2 other teams will sign him before they make their decision. The way the Chargers need to make a move to beat Andy Reid, to beat Sean Payton, and yes, to beat potentially Antonio Pierce on a team that backs him up. And if they don't hire Antonio Pierce, Max Crosby's requesting a trade. He already put it on Twitter. If they don't hire him, I will be requesting a trade. That's pretty straight up. Now, in the Raiders' abilities here, if they were to trade Devontae Adams and Max Crosby, you're getting a boatload of picks for those two players. You're going to have dead cap. You're also going to have 2 or 3 first round picks the next 2 years, maybe 3 years. You're talking easily a first round pick, easily a third on top of that, maybe and a player. If they're going to trade Devontae to the Jets, get one of their running backs. Get one of their offensive linemen. I know it sounds weird. Here's what the Rams did. And this is what I think a good GM can do with the Raiders. The Rams picked up a guy that was a backup and made him the 12th best guard in the league, their right guard. He was slated to be a backup, not even a starter. They pick him up. He's the 12th best guard in the league. If you get a scouting department that can do their job, that looks for reality, you can make a lot of plays. You can do a lot of things in this league. A lot. So I think the Raiders' job looks interesting for Pierce, but if they don't, that oh my gosh, that head coach is not going to have 2 of his best players immediately. And Josh Jacobs is probably out the door as well. He's already a free agent, but I don't know if they re-sign him then. I don't think he wants to be re-signed if Pierce isn't the head coach. Like, this move by Mark Davis is really important because he may have, that GM may have to trade everybody. You're going to get a bunch of picks. You're going to go young. I feel bad if it is a head coach besides Antonio Pierce. I really do feel bad if that's what happens. All right, so Seattle, the rumors are very clear. Seattle is strongly looking at Dan Quinn, which to me is why Jerry Jones stayed with McCarthy. You can't fire McCarthy, not get Dan Quinn, and end up with a cupboard that's completely bare with nothing. Because neither you wanted Dan Quinn to replace him originally. If he's not there, you're going outside, you're going to go try to get somebody, but now you really got to work for it. So I do believe bringing Mike McCarthy back for the final year of his contract. Now, I said he was on the hot seat in 2020, for the 2025 firings, a year from now. But he's not just because it's the last year of his contract. They say they're working on a contract extension with Mike Tomlin. I don't think the Steelers I don't know what the Steelers are planning on doing. It's really murky out of there because the organization has not said anything. He just told the players he's going to be coming back. It's the last year of his contract. So I don't know how that's going to play out. All right. Then the last one, Tennessee Titans, they've requested to interview a ton of people. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what the plan is with them. And then the Eagles, we're still waiting on word of whether or not Sirianni is the head coach next year or not. We're still waiting on it. None of this is clear right now. So it does look like Bill Belichick is going to be the head coach of the Falcons, which means the Falcons will win the division next year. And the Falcons look like the team to beat for potentially the next 4 or 5 years. Because, yes, I believe Bill Belichick with Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, because, yes, I do believe he's going to fill his staff with a bunch of previous head coaches. He's going to get his guys in there, and they're just going to take over the NFC South and run everybody out of it. It's a smart move. It's an easy division. It's down. It ain't that good. Even if Baker's there and Tampa Bay's 500 the last 2 years. Let's just be honest. Tampa Bay can't get much better because they're going to start having to pay people. And I mean, it's how Tampa Bay is. Brady went there for a reason. They've always had the weapons. They needed Brady. Brady goes there. They get a bunch of free agents to go there. They win a Super Bowl. Boom, bada bing, there we go. And then you do nothing. Basically how it is. All right. So today let's do this. Let's do this. I was watching and reading a lot of different posts and blogs and going down the quarterback list. So going to the projected starters for next year. There are a couple teams that are automatically blank right now. Washington, New England, Atlanta, Las Vegas. Those teams are blank right now. Teams that are paying a quarterback are not blank. Daniel Jones with the Giants. The Giants aren't part of that list. They're not blank because they have Daniel Jones that they're paying. Seahawks have Geno Smith that they are paying. Okay? Justin Fields is still currently the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. The Tennessee Titans, it's blank, but penciled in is Will Levis. They believe they're going to give him the full off season and give him until Thanksgiving to show what he can do. They're rebuilding. They are 100% rebuilding. Okay? So let's rank. And this is kind of what we're going to do. We're going to do hot, warm, trade. Hot, warm, trade. Now, these are my personal rankings for each quarterback, where they're currently at. Is the team hot on them? Are they just kind of warm? Or is it time to trade and upgrade? Trade or upgrade. Okay? That'll be what trade is. Trade or upgrade. So, just like yesterday, we're going to start in the AFC East, work down to the West, work from the West back up to the East on the NFC. So, Buffalo is obviously hot on Josh Allen. They're not letting him go. The community would absolutely blister the franchise if they let go of Josh Allen. He embodies Buffalo. Josh Allen is Buffalo. For those of you who have not traveled there, Josh Allen is the perfect human representation. There are parts of it, they are absolutely amazing. Niagara Falls is just north, that area. And then there are parts of it that are absolutely ugly. You've got spectacular, breathtaking, ugly, and you wish you could get rid of it. Well, that's Josh Allen. The spectacular outweighs the ugly. You hate the amount of turnovers that end up happening, but the spectacular outweighs everything. They are hot on Josh Allen, and they ain't letting him go, and they should not, in any circumstance, do so. So, that's Buffalo. Let's go to Miami. Miami, I believe, is warm. Tua's shortcomings were really exposed in that game against Kansas City. Can he win on the road? The weather was cold. I'm going to give a little bit of grace here, okay? I'm going to give a little bit of grace. But when he needed to perform, Buffalo, Baltimore, even the Dallas game, he didn't do great. Dallas choked more than Miami did great. He didn't show up. He is not going to win Miami football games. So I believe they're warm on Tua right now because I don't think there's a lot of better current quarterbacks that they can easily go get that are going to be better than Tua right now. Kirk Cousins wants to stay in Minnesota. We know that. In fact, in my list, I kind of have him there because it's just one of those things. If he ends up leaving, then, I mean, it's blank. Minnesota needs to make a move. But I believe Miami is warm on Tua right now. The Jets seemingly are hot on Aaron Rodgers. Should they be? I think you just got to be warm. He's got his contract. You know you got the year. The first year was absolutely wasted. How long are you going to put up with Aaron Rodgers? That's the question. That is the ultimate question. I think they're hot on him right now because they believe he's the quarterback that can get them back to the playoffs. They can get them back where they want to be. I'm sorry, guys. I don't see it. I think the stats could be interesting. They could beat bad teams. The good news is New England is kind of going to be down even worse, but she already beat Bill Belichick. You closed out the year beating Bill Belichick. So it's not impossible for you to beat the Patriots now. And I do believe that that defense going up against Tua, there's possibilities with it. There are absolutely possibilities with it. So there is this aspect of Aaron Rodgers is not really what the future is going to be, but they're really hot on him. I don't think they should be, but they are. The next team is going to be New England. They're not hot on Mac Jones. We know this. He is under contract. He's going to be replaced. That's not even a question. I don't think that's a thought-provoke on anybody's mind. I would trade him. I think he could be a serviceable backup if he gets to a place. I mean, shoot. Look at what Baker Mayfield did when he got to Sean McVay. He reinvigorated Baker. I mean, he absolutely reinvigorated Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold looks pretty good with Kyle Shanahan. Carson Wentz is going to be a really serviceable backup for the Rams. It works. You just got to have somebody that's able to come in and go, no, we're all right. This is going to be okay. It ain't gonna go bad here. We're all right. We can do this. So I hope they trade Mac Jones. Absolutely hope they trade Mac Jones. 1,000%. I think he deserves the opportunity to go to an offensive head coach. Potentially learn. Potentially learn how to be able to handle different things, being a young quarterback again. And I think he could be a serviceable backup. All right, now we get into the AFC North. Joe Burrow, they're hot on. We're not even going to spend time on this one. Joe Burrow, hot on. keep him. Take the injuries. He's going to win you games when he's healthy. Lamar Jackson. They're hot. He's got a fresh contract. We're good. Keep it going. Rock and roll. Steelers. Whether it's Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, or Mitch Trubisky, trade. They're going to be warm on him, though. The hometown kid. I don't think they're going to move off of Pickett. Something inside of me tells me they're going to steal her up and keep Pickett around, and it's just not going to be good. I would trade. I would move off. I'd see what we could do. Like I said, I'd move off Tomlin. It's time to become a new Steeler team. These Steelers are not the Steelers they want to be. They haven't been. They're not a viable threat. Nobody overly worries about them. One player, TJ Watt, goes down, nobody respects them. If TJ Watt is there, he is that dynamic of a player that they are that worried about just him. But they aren't worried about the rest of the team. So I would become a new Steeler football team. But I don't think they will. So I think they're warm. I would trade, but I think they're warm on all of their quarterbacks that they currently have. All right, Cleveland. This one to me is really intriguing. There are a lot of people that are talking about trading Watson. I don't know how this works. Because he has a fully guaranteed contract. Fully guaranteed. So I'm not sure how that works in a trade. I really don't. Some people are saying they could trade him, but I don't know what the cap fallout would be for the Browns. I legitimately don't know. I agree with some of the people that say trade him. Now, I think he can still be a good quarterback. But the injuries, Cleveland was set up to win. They won, Kevin Stefanski won with 4 different quarterbacks. He's an absolute genius. That roster is set to win now. I'm not going to lie. If they have a legit quarterback, they're still 5th because Baltimore just ran through everybody. But a legit quarterback, and they've put pressure on Baltimore to probably win that last game in Pittsburgh. Like, there's just a different aspect, and Deshaun Watson has not been the same. These injuries, the lawsuits, everything that's taken place, he doesn't look the same. So I can't tell you that, oh, it's okay, he's going to bounce back. Listen, I don't know if Cleveland's hot on him. I think they're only warm. I really do. I think they're only warm. I think they understand that was a huge mistake to offer him a fully guaranteed contract for a player that definitely does not deserve a fully guaranteed contract in the slightest. So the way that everything is, I don't know if they're really hot on him. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be. Like I said, he's still a quarterback. The injuries, the injuries bother me. He's been so injured so often. I don't like it. I do not like it at all. So I think Cleveland's only warm on Deshaun Watson right now, and I would be. I'm sitting between warm and trade. I am absolutely sitting between warm and trade because, doggone it, if they had a quarterback that was healthy all year, and there weren't many teams that had one, let's just be honest. Sitting on a quarterback like that, if they had one that was healthy 14 of the 17 games, I think they really make that push. I think that team was built to win a Super Bowl, and ownership's in the way. All right, AFC South. Anthony Richardson for the Colts. I am fully aware they're hot on him, and I'm only going to be hot on him if he gets down. If he does change his playing style. If Steichen stops running stupid quarterback, running back option plays and running with a guy that got hurt in 3 different areas of his body in the first year. It wasn't a 1 injury. It was 3. Like there is a thing, like, and it's been a joke. But NFL players go, how can you call guys injury prone so often? Well, let's see. It's about what happens. He injured his knee. Then he injured his arm. Then he injured his shoulder, and the shoulder took him out for the rest of the year. Like, come on. All different locations. Maybe he is brittle. We're going to find out early next year. Because he needs training camp. He didn't play. He needs training camp. So he's going to have to play in preseason. Jacksonville Jaguars, they're between hot and warm right now. I am still going to blame the organization. I know people want to bail and jump on Lawrence. He did make the playoffs last year, won the division, won a playoff game. So, chill. This is only the second year with Doug Peterson. They were above 500. Mike Tomlin's been above 500 consecutive years. He's still not fired. Big Ben sucked for a lot of the final years. Just shut up. That Lawrence is fine. Lawrence is not going to be the problem in Jacksonville. CJ Stroud, obviously, they are very hot on him, red hot at this point. And if he were somehow to be able to come out and beat the Ravens this weekend, oh my gosh, they will be on fire, and it will be a blazing inferno. I think the Titans right now are kind of lukewarm on Will Levis at this point. I think Will Levis, they want to see what they have, but the new head coach is going to really affect whether or not he improves. If he doesn't get an offensive-minded coach, I could see Will Levis being labeled as a bust and then going to an offensive coach in an easy, cheap trade, and all of a sudden, Will Levis is exactly what I wanted in Indianapolis. So, there's that. All right, the AFC West. Obviously, they're hot on Patrick Mahomes. The Broncos are at the trade point with Russell Wilson. They're either going to cut him. I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. His contract's too expensive, so I think they're just going to cut him. They're at get him out of here. They leaked the rumor that they're open to him returning in 2024 season. No, they're not. No, they're not. They don't want to have to pay the bonus that he would be due. No, they're not. At all. Give me a break. They are at trade. 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 Trade everything about Russell Wilson. Get him out of Denver. That is where their team is at right now. It is very clear. They don't want Russell Wilson in Denver. So I think that one's pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple. I think it kind of came to a head at the end of the season and showed itself very clearly. All right, the Chargers, they're hot on Justin Herbert. They should be. None of this is his fault. He should get no blame for what has happened with the Chargers organization whatsoever. Whatsoever. I hope he gets the coach he needs. I really hope he gets the coach he needs. All right, Las Vegas. Did it again. Doggone it. Whether it's Garoppolo or O'Connell, I really think they're between warm and trade. Like, O'Connell kind of won some games, but it was really their defense. O'Connell didn't have the stats, and you can't win without a quarterback that can actually play the position. So I don't think they're going to stick with O'Connell. I think they're going to potentially, if Pierce comes back, I wouldn't have an issue with the Raiders trading a third to Chicago for Justin Fields. Really wouldn't. DJ Moore had some stats. Devontae Adams would have stats. Now, this is only if Antonio Pierce is the head coach. So keep that in mind. But I would not have an issue with them making a trade with where they're at. They're probably not going to get a quarterback they want. So I would make a trade with Chicago, absolutely. Get Justin Fields. He can't demand a high-priced extension. He just can't. So see what you can do, and then rock and roll from there. All right, so that's the AFC. Let's go to the NFC, starting in the West. The Rams are hot on Matt Stafford. They know his time is going to be coming up, but they are not moving off a guy that lays everything out on the field. They are not going to move off of him for no reason. And right now it is no reason because he can still throw. He's not throwing interceptions. He's not getting more inaccurate. He is still winning football games. But they do know that the clock is running and winding down on what he will be able to do. So they're aware, but they are still all in on Matt Stafford. The 49ers, it's always hard to figure out what they're doing. They will move off a quarterback that they don't think is it. Brock Purdy's cheap. I think they're between warm and hot on Brock Purdy because they're not paying him, so they don't care. They're good with it. And I honestly believe that's the only thing that matters. They don't want to pay their quarterback, so they're not going to. And every time that their contract comes up, they absolutely be like, all right, next up. They are a next up with the quarterback position type team, which is odd, but nonetheless. Arizona, I think, is probably still hot on Kyler Murray. They may be warm, but I would be in the position where I'm willing to trade him. I really would. You've got the 4th pick in the draft. You can get one of the best quarterbacks. And then you can trade Kyler Murray to Las Vegas. You could trade Kyler Murray to New England. You could make that trade easily. Draft your quarterback. If you get New England's pick and you are 3-4, you get to draft potentially You get to draft your quarterback and star receiver back to back. Think about that option. The new head coach of the Patriots doesn't want to have to start with a rookie quarterback. Thinks I'd rather get a quarterback I can rely on and build around that. Hey, Kyler Murray's available. Okay. Las Vegas calls. We want Kyler Murray. We'll give you XYZ. Okay. Arizona pulls off a beautiful trade. They've got 2 picks in the first round already. Could you imagine them having 3? Boy, Gannon better not screw this up. That would be wild. So Murray, I think they're between hot and warm, but I would really test and see what I could get for him. I really would. Seattle with Geno is obviously a trade. Seattle wants to move off of Geno. Pete Carroll didn't want to. Pete Carroll's fired. The new coach is going to be brought in. Is going to be told, quarterback. We got to upgrade quarterback. So maybe they're going to make a big move to get one of the top 6 picks in the draft. I don't know. I'm guessing that's what's going to happen because they want a quarterback. They've got a great roster. It's going to be even better this year. I could see them making one of those moves where you go, yeah, they gave up a lot, but they can go win. They can go win now. So there is the NFC West. The NFC South, Atlanta's off. Trade. Carolina, they're only warm on Bryce Young. They're not sold, and I'm not so sure the owner doesn't want to trade him already. That'd be interesting. The owner is like, no. New head coach comes in. He goes, all right, do you want Bryce Young? Not really, but we've got him for control. I don't care. We're trading him. You don't want him? We're trading him. The owner hates Bryce Young. The owner did not want Bryce Young. And he hates that Houston has C.J. Stroud and is in the playoffs. He hates it. David Tepper is a meddling owner. I feel sorry for the head coach that ends up being in Carolina because it's not a great landscape. It's not a great job. I don't know what they get for Bryce Young. I really don't. The owner wants to get rid of him. I think any coach that comes in is going to be warm. They're going to see what happens, as the new coach should do. But they're definitely not hot. Tampa Bay, I think, is warm, but I don't think they have many options. So I believe they will try to re-sign Baker Mayfield for a legitimate amount of money. I really think that's what it is. Mickey Loomis came out in support of both Allen and Carr amid a treacherous season. Translated, you guys better figure it out next year because we're not going to do this again. That's what that translates to, FYI. That is, you guys better figure this out because we're not going to go through another year where we miss the playoffs, underperform, don't win the division when the division's really winnable. I said, if Bill Belichick's there, the AFC South or NFC South is his to lose. I really believe that. I really do. Because I don't think Dennis Allen I don't think he's that good of a coach. Their defense was okay, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do this year. Michael Thomas is a free agent. I don't think he comes back. Alvin Kamara, he's injured a lot. What do you do with him? Derek Carr, he had spots where he looked really good. He had spots where he looked really bad. So I think everybody in New Orleans is warm on Derek Carr. They know they could do a lot worse, but they know it needs to be better. All right, NFC North. Lions, hot on Jared Goff. Packers, hot on Jordan Love. They're both in the playoffs. Easy, done. See you later. Minnesota Vikings, I believe, are, because of where they're drafting and because Kevin O'Connell is that good of a coach, I think they're going to end up going back with Kirk Cousins, and I would. It's going to have to be the right deal. I will be honest about that. Cousins can't demand a ton of money if he wants to stay in Minnesota. They are at the point now they need the cap ability. They didn't trade Danielle Hunter. They didn't trade Harrison Smith. They didn't do what they could have done. So if they're going to try to run it back with Kirk, of which could work, could not work, they didn't have a running back. So if they get the running back figured out, of which they can do through free agency, if Kirk is a team-friendly deal. So I think they want Kirk Cousins back. If he doesn't come back, I don't know what they're going to do. Kevin O'Connell's really going to have to make a decision on who does he think he can bring in that can work in his system, because it's obviously not Nick Mullins and it's obviously not Josh Dobbs. It's not Jaren Hall. Let's just stop with any of those ideas now, because no, they aren't. So I think Kirk Cousins running it back is not a bad option. And then the Chicago Bears, I think they're on trade Justin Fields. They're done with Justin Fields. They're going to come out, say they support him. They want as high of a draft pick as they can get for him. I'd be comfortable trading a third, at the very most a conditional second. And that conditional second is he resigns, he plays X amount of snaps. You know, that worked out well for the Jets. The Jets traded a conditional first. Aaron Rodgers didn't play the snaps. They still have their first round pick. They don't have their second round pick. It works out. I think you're going to see a lot more with the amount of injuries that happen. Conditional picks are going to become a part of it, but it's going to be in the favor of the team that's trading the pick. So I will give you this pick conditionally. I only have to trade it if it works really well for me, though, is really what happens. I only have to trade that pick if it works out the way I hope it does, which most everybody will accept. All right. Let's see. Where are we at now? Final one. NFC East. Philadelphia. I don't know. I don't know. They could be only warm on Jalen Hurts now. Just because they paid him doesn't mean anything. They could only be warm on Jalen Hurts now because of how everything played out and everything that happened. And you know what? Rightfully so. I mean, come on. You got to be honest about it. It wasn't good. It just wasn't good. Is he the guy that is really what you want, or is he a guy that everything has to be perfect? I think at this point they're warm on Jalen Hurts. He looked bad to close out the year. They got a lot of questions that they want answered. So because of that, I'm going to say they're warm right now. The Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott, I think they're warm as well. Jerry Jones is probably hot on him, but anybody inside the organization is probably this much money for this guy? Are we sure about this? I I don't know. I don't know. I'm not so sure that everybody in the organization is sold on a $59.5 million quarterback that loses in the playoffs. Just saying. Washington doesn't have a quarterback right now. They don't count. And I do believe that the Giants are officially on trade, but they won't. They're not going to trade Daniel Jones. What they're going to do is they're going to run this year with him, and then they can get out of his contract for only $22 million dead cap in the 2025 offseason. So I believe that's what they're going to do. They're going to run with him on the team for one more year, get out from the contract when they're able to, because they do have outs in the contract, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. So there you go, guys. Hot, warm trade. Each individual NFL quarterback. And this is why this season and this draft, this offseason, is going to be so wild. We've got some running backs that are going to be moving around. We got some potential receivers that are going to be moving around. But you don't have quarterbacks in the free agent market. So because of that, the draft really matters. Boy, does the draft matter. And honestly, that's exactly where we're at right now. The draft matters. So we'll see what comes up of it. But that is going to be it for this episode. Tomorrow, I do know what we're doing. Tomorrow will be the preview of divisional round weekend. And then if there's any other coaching news or anything else, we'll probably go over that as well. And I'll do the preview and the picks tomorrow in the podcast as well. But for this Thursday afternoon, that is it for me, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're on Spotify, thank you for listening. And if you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. For Football Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out.